It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
Hello, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to The Boring Company. And I've been busy making a video all day. I didn't quite get around to finishing it. I thought, you know what? Let's do a bit of a live stream. There was a really excellent video that my good friend Warren Redlick did with a geologist called David Wilshaw, talking about the geology in Florida and whether that's suitable for the Boring Company if it wished to do many layers of tunnel. I really hope that you all get the time to watch that video, because I think it's a really excellent video. It's absolutely criminal that it's only got 1,300 likes so far. Hopefully it gets a few more likes and a few more views, but basically, just without, I don't want to tell you what's in the video, you go and watch it, but to summarise, I was always of the opinion that limestone was not good to work with because of all the cavities, because it's quite a soft rock, because it tends to be in various layers and you've got things in between, and basically in Florida it's quite unique. They have very deep layers of limestone. It's soft, which means you can go through it well. There are cavities in there, but you can deal with them. And basically the summary is from David is that it's possible, very possible. The most important thing that you can do, though, is have the right tool for the job. And as I keep saying, it's all about the TBM. It's all about experience digging in a particular area. Take Las Vegas, for example. As they learned from tunnel number 1, and they learned the geology, they learned the rocks and how things were layered there. Once they'd learned that, they really got into the groove and really managed to progress very nicely. The same will be with Miami or Jacksonville or Tampa or wherever they want to, Orlando, if they want to go to Disneyland. Wherever they want to dig a tunnel, if they can learn about the geology, plan ahead, and use the correct TBM for the job, they could very easily, break 100 meters a day, quite easily. With the right technology, with the right setup. And that's really great to hear. Lots and lots of really good questions asked throughout this interview by Warren and a few other people, including myself. And very good. So, for today, I've basically pulled this together. Some keywords. You guys are the deciders today. Pick out whatever you like. I will talk about it. Just have a general kind of chit chat. Any other questions you want to ask me, feel free to do so. Happy to talk about anything you want to talk about. Not even if you want to talk about things other than the Boring Company, maybe a bit of Tesla, maybe electric vehicles, because it all knits in very nicely. Feel free to ask me whatever you want to ask me, within reason, of course, and I will be happy to answer. So I've got a few keywords here. If you want to pick out these keywords, go for it. If you don't, just ask me a question. Let's have a look. In fact, let's go to the chat and have a look. So here we are. Has this come up with the chat? Here we are. Yes. Yes. Excellent. Good to see. Okay, so I'm just going to start talking, and then you guys ask some questions if you want to ask some questions. So, one of the things that's changed with the Boring Company is they've removed the word limestone from the Boring Company website. And I'm a little bit disappointed about that, because I think, it's good to have those kind of staged improvements in the machine, and you can put a name against it. At the moment, they've got Godot Plus, which I just, it doesn't really work for me. But the reason they had to do that was because the Godot machine that they had in Hawthorne for the tunnel there, for the test tunnel, they then basically used 98% of the same machine for Las Vegas. And other than upping the power and changing the way they move segments into the tunnel, it's basically the same machine. So it would be a little bit, it wouldn't be right for them to call it a different name when it's basically the same machine. It'd be a bit like if Ford made a car, Ford Escort, and then they produced another car 2 years later, and it looked exactly like the Ford Escort, except it had a slightly bigger engine in it. And you'd be like, well, it's kind of the Ford Escort, why have you called it a different name? And that's kind of the reason why they've gone for Godot Plus. But Proof Rock is going to be a completely different beast. And that's what my video is going to be about tomorrow. So let's have a look and see what questions we have. So, you know what? I've forgotten when the actual competition is. I thought it was later in the year or next year. But if you say so. So, I think it's more about getting people interested in tunneling. Tunneling is a very, very niche industry. People tend to kind of get pushed into it rather than they really want to be a tunneler. Unless you actually have family members who work in tunneling, you're probably not going to work in tunneling. It's just how the industry is. And especially in the UK, the number of people going into that industry has been declining fairly regularly. Most of those people go into it because of mining. Obviously, you know, we're not mining coal anywhere near as much as we were 20 years ago, never mind, 80 years ago. So it's an industry that's in decline. This is a way of boosting people's interest in tunneling, getting them to see tunneling from a different perspective. Tunneling is about transport, moving people, also moving freight. Remember, the Boring Company is starting to talk about freight a bit more, moving important things like electrical cables, water. Fresh water is extremely important. In some parts of the world, fresh water per litre costs more than crude oil. Yeah? Fresh water is incredibly important. There's also other things you could move through tunnels. So getting people excited into what you can use tunnels for. And the technology with tunnels hasn't really changed very much from the late 70s. I mean, TBMs kind of look the same, yeah. Maybe the cutter head has changed a little bit. Maybe they've upped the power. Maybe they've, modified how the segment erector works. But really, it's kind of very, very slight incremental changes, 2 to 3%, maybe less than that. And it's just not really inspiring. When I was at university, we basically had maybe 2, maybe 3 lectures about tunneling. Talked about it very briefly. There was no real kind of enthusiasm about tunneling, about why we need more tunnels. I mean, it was barely mentioned really. And when I left university, I didn't really think much about it. And that's the problem. We have really excellent people going through university. They're doing the construction project management, they're doing the quantity surveying, they're doing the civil engineering, M&E, all these kind of things, estimating, and they're just, tunneling is not on their mind. So then they don't go looking for the tunneling jobs, and that's part of the issue. A competition like this is going to inspire people. Look, think outside the box, do something crazy. Try something different with the cut head. Try some kind of different kind of segment erector. Why are you using concrete? Why not use steel? Why not use wood? Why not use some kind of composite material? Really outside the box. Let's get people in there. Another thing as well that I really hope that this project does is get more women into construction. The construction industry is like 98% men. I've worked on, just off the top of my head, maybe 7, maybe 8 projects in my entire career. There was one woman who I worked with who's kind of on the same level as me. There was another job where the main QS was a woman. But other than that, it's 98% men. We need to get more women into this field. We need to get more ethnic minorities working in construction. It's like 95%, Caucasian. That is what I'm hoping for this project, is inspire people, get people thinking, get that competitive spirit going. So I've kind of gone off on a bit there, and some more questions have come in. So thank you, Cormac, for that great question, because I managed to burn about 3 minutes there. Will they have to pump water continually out of tunnels in Florida? No, it will be 99.999% watertight. Modern tunnels, very, very good. The actual seals between the concrete segments are good for 100 years. They grout behind the segments as well, which fills in any gaps and then further offers more protection. Water's always going to take the path of least resistance, yeah? So if it's coming into or near a tunnel, it's going to go over it, it's going to go under it, it's going to go around it. It just depends on really how well engineered is the tunnel. If it's done to a reasonable standard, water's not an issue. Maybe on Mars we might have a city underground. I think a city underground is really possible, especially on another planet. You can have a really big TBM, maybe 26-foot diameter. You're digging loads of tunnels, and you're going round, and you're coming back on yourself, and then you can have connecting tunnels, passages in between those. And then you could build up like buildings, like encaves in between the tunnels, and then connect the tunnels, and they all become one thing. And that is a really interesting thing, and I hope that we see that from the Boring Company on Mars. Yeah, so let's talk about the muck truck. So we got the muck truck here down here on my slide. Where's the muck truck? I think I had it. No, I didn't have it. I think I did. I thought I had it. No, I didn't. I thought I had it on there, but I didn't. But anyway, the proposal is that they will use rubber-wheeled muck trucks. That means that they don't need to drop the rails in every sort of 10 foot. And it's just a constant hassle. You have to drop these rails in to feed the TBM with your concrete segments, and then also to remove the muck as well. So it's kind of a segment truck and a muck truck. That's what they need to do. They need to innovate, and that's what that is. It's an innovation, yeah. And obviously that allows them to go around corners quicker because the wheels are at 45-degree angles. So you should be able to feed and remove stuff from the TBM at quite a rapid rate. I think that's a great addition. I'd like to learn more about that muck truck, for example, how powerful it is. Is it how many batteries are in there in terms of kilowatt hours, that sort of thing. Another great question. Yes, I'm thinking about it. I keep thinking about it, Cormac, and I'm going to drop them an email. Thank you for keep reminding me. I like hypersciences. I think in certain circumstances it works really, really well. Somewhere like the Republic of Ireland, where there's large deposits of granite, would be absolutely perfect. That is the perfect kind of use case for the kind of hyperscience railgun type system, because the tunnel will be almost self-supporting most of the time. So it's just a case of removing that granite. Then you could use that granite in the concrete as an aggregate, and then you can line your tunnel with those concrete segments. Another great question. Yes, that's correct. That is correct, Thaddeus. Yeah, so they have the muck trucks, as it were. Instead of muck trains, they've got these muck trucks. They've got these very large 10-inch diameter rubber wheels. So it's like a steel wheel with like a rubber band around it. And that looks very promising indeed. My kind of interpretation for how they were going to modify muck removal was they were going to have two railways side by side, narrow gauge, and then they were going to move trains in and out on either sides. But they've kind of gone for this system. I guess it's a lot wider. They can bring more stuff in, and we'll just have to see how it develops. But that system will be fully autonomous. Good morning, my friend. Good morning. Yes, great question. I think there's I mean, there's so many use cases for a tunnel. I think in Switzerland, they have these caves, and they fill the caves with pressurized gas, just the air. They put it in there about 50, maybe not 50 bar, but maybe 30, 40 bar pressure, and they pump it in when they've got lots and lots of cheap electricity. And when the electricity shoots up, say like in the morning, they then run that through a generator, and they generate electricity. Imagine if you could have a tunnel that was 15, 20 miles long, and then you put 20 bars worth of air into there, a very high pressure, and then you could push that through a generator. That would generate some serious amounts of electricity, because you think of the volume of a 20-mile tunnel. So I'd love to see someone explore that maybe. But I mean, you could store anything in a tunnel because it is airtight, it's watertight. You know, you can create a vacuum in there. There's so many opportunities. Even I mean, even like natural gas and hydrogen or anything. If someone's willing to pay, hey, the Boring Company should you know, take the opportunity, but just maybe whack the price up a bit, because we want, you know, clean energy, don't we? Yeah, Jamie, great question. So I've talked about this with Warren as well when we did our interview, and I like the idea of having these kind of tunnels that bypass like bottlenecks. So when you've got a bottleneck somewhere, you know there's going to be a bottleneck, you know there's going to be queues of cars, you know, like half a mile back. You want a tunnel that takes you round that bottleneck. And I would be happy to pay, you know, $10, you know, maybe even, you know, £5, you know, whatever the local currency was, to bypass that area. Maybe even having whole tunnels that just bypass entire motorways just to get you to where you need, because people would pay for that. If you've got, you know, thousands of cars going through there every day, and they're paying, you know, £6-7, maybe $10, that soon adds up. That'll pay for the cost of that tunnel. You can then use that money to put another tunnel under there, so you can move double the amount of automobiles or cars or vehicles or pods, and then you can lower the price, increase the amount of vehicles you're pushing through there. That could be a huge money earner for the Boring Company. Good question. Yes. The ideal TBM, if I'm just, let me check I've read this correctly. Yeah, so the whole process of a TBM literally should be maybe 1 or 2 people in the TBM. Everything else should be automated. And then once that tunnel's been built, other than passengers, there should be no other people in that tunnel. It should be fully 100% automated. Yes, great question. Great question. So I'm going to talk about this again, hopefully tomorrow, if I get this presentation finished. So there are some tunnels, not for subways, but some tunnels have used a process where they use, and you can see it on my slideshow here, hexagonal segments. The hexagonal segments are installed either 3 or 4 segments at a time, and the machine is jacked forward whilst those segments are being installed. Then the jacks that are not being used are then used on the other. So you have like teeth. Rather than, let me show you a great example of it. So this is how a traditional tunnel, let's go for, is built. So you've got a ring beam. I'm not drawing very good here. That's horrendous. Oh god. So let me delete that. So as you can see here, can you see the line? So you've got a ring beam. It's like a perfect circle. That is not the way you're going to do it. What you need is something like this. Everyone's going to, I can't even see what I'm doing now, but anyway, it would come out like teeth. It looks terrible. But you know what I'm trying to say? You can't do it with this ring beam kind of rectangular segments, yeah? You have to have these hexagonal segments, and they overlap one another like this. And then the thrust cylinders can be pushing. So if you had, let's say you had 20 thrust cylinders, yeah? So 10 are pushing off these 4. Then the other 10, after they finish, are pushing off the other 4. And then them 4, and then those 4. So you're constantly moving between the different segments as you're erecting them. So again, great question. It does happen, but it's fairly rare. And the reason it's rare is these hexagonal segments, they shift. That's a big problem. They shift offline, off center, and they move, and there's some kind of slide, and we don't like that, because that's not good when you're building a tunnel where you've got openings and segments are not lining up, they're not flush. So there's got to be some kind of solution where you must be able to reinforce the lining as you're going along from behind it, and then fixing it into place as you're adding more segments, because otherwise it'll just be out of cock and it won't work, and you'll get water ingress. So for example, in somewhere like Florida, that would be super bad if you were getting water ingress. The Bluetooth device is ready to pair. That thing shouldn't be doing that.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm going to post a link as well, Ben, so that everyone can watch it. But it was a really, really great interview. As I thought, there are solutions. It's not unsurmountable. You just need the right TBM. Not with tiny tunnels. Well, the internal diameter is like 12.5 foot. Yeah, for the Boring Company. If you have a long enough tunnel, that is a hell of a lot of volume if you work it out. Pi r squared times the length. Oh, it's a good question. Robins have some kind of very interesting machine where they can jack the head, the cutter head, at really kind of crazy angles. It's got a real technical term, and I've totally it's gone over my head, forgotten. But you could definitely do a 20, let's say 25 meter radius curve quite easily. Maybe less than that. Maybe 20 meter radius curve if necessary. But that wouldn't be very good for the Boring Company because you'd have to slow down the pods really fast. But for side tunnels, that would be absolutely fine. Yeah, I think it kind of does look a bit like a roller coaster, but without the rails. It rides on the radius of the tunnel, so it's kind of impossible to tip over really, and it can go really fast around the corners. I read about it a long way back, but I don't have the technical knowledge to really understand how it's viable. But it's an interesting concept. Yes, they could, but it would be quite slow. So that method is borrowed from a company called the Obashi Corporation, and they call it Europe or Ultra Rapid Underpass System, and that's what they use it for going underneath highways and going underneath railways and things like that, underneath canals, and so over a period of say 70-80 meters they can go under and then come back up. So it's very useful for that. But I think for the Boring Company it's more about getting rid of those launch pits and getting rid of those reception shafts as much as possible. Someone asked me a really, really interesting question on YouTube on the last video, and I just had not thought about it. And basically the question was, how do you join up tunnels when you're using this porpoising? And I was like, wow, this is kind of not really something I've really thought about, because you'd be going down and going up and then joining, then going down, then going up. And I just thought to myself, that is not really, good practice. So I think to a certain extent, you are going to have intermediate shafts, but those intermediate shafts are going to be maybe 4 or 5 meters apart if you can, maybe even more, maybe even 8 meters apart. So you want to try and limit the amount of shafts that you can that you do, because if you're going up, then you're going to have to join it underneath. Maybe you're going to have to use a Roadrunner to connect them up, and it's just not the way to do it. Okay, so what other questions have we got? Great questions today, everyone. Let me go on to the next page, see if you can think of anything. So there's a few things on here. What are people's opinions on using a 6-seater instead of a 14-seater? I'm sort of in between. I think something around 10 would be the perfect size, but it seems like the Boring Company are going more for this, and that worries me a little bit, but I guess things can evolve over time. Yeah. Most traffic is just caused by bottlenecks. The same in Manchester here in England. When I used to work in the centre of Manchester, if I left this house after 7:15, I was always stuck in traffic. If I left it at like 7:10, I could always, sneak through, and I'd get there, 5 or 6 minutes quicker, maybe 10 minutes quicker. If I left here at 8 o'clock, it would take me until almost like 10 to 9 to get to work. So it's just crazy. You need to eliminate those bottlenecks. We need to put everyone underground. We need to put more people in autonomous electric vehicles. We need to put more people in robo-taxis. We need to put more people in trains. We need to put more people in Archimoto type vehicles. We need to put more people in Hyperloop. We need to put more people in VTOL. If you've ever heard of a company called Lilium, L-I-L-U-M, Lilium, yes, L-I-U-M, L-I-L-I-U-M. They are a German VTOL company, and I think they have kind of got the perfect master plan for how they could use that. Now, VTOLs are not going to move hundreds of thousands of people, but there are certain groups of people who definitely would like to use VTOL, and it'd be very useful, and they're happy to pay, $30, $40 per trip. So it's about using every conceivable form of transport, including cycling as well, walking, everything that you can use. There's no reason why we couldn't have underground tunnels just for bikes. No reason whatsoever. And then you could use those very tight turns. In fact, you could go up the walls, couldn't you? You could do like a barrel roll. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. I appreciate at least a little bit of positive feedback. Yeah, I think Texas would be a good place because the local government is very open to building things, and they've got very kind of relaxed regulations, and they're happy to give people opportunities. And I just think somewhere like Austin would be perfect for the Boring Company. Perfect. Like you say, if you've got lots of people flying in and using, coming to the factory, it would definitely be worth it putting in a couple of tunnels to the airport. It won't be that expensive. It won't be that expensive either. So what would that be? Let's say 8. So 8, 16, 24. So it'd be 24 million plus, say around 30 million just for a single tunnel. Around 36, 37 for a dual tunnel system. Good question. I want these kind of questions. This is what I'm sure you're asking this in good, with good intentions. I hope so. I don't like it when people make this common mistake, and they think that the Boring Company is going to work like a train or a bus. No, no, no. That is the dumb old way of working. How do Uber work? You pick your app up and you put it in and you say, you know what, I'm going to leave here at 5 o'clock and go here at 6 o'clock. I feel like I've got a cough coming on. I need to stop talking for a little bit. So yeah, you pick your phone up and you say, right, I always leave to go to work at 8:30. So I need to be leaving at 8 o'clock. Now, 10 other people do the same, and they all live within a mile of you, a mile and a half. So what the Boring Company does is it groups you into 3 locations. Those 3 locations are about 400 meters, 500 meters apart. So you get up in the morning and your app tells you, go to this location. You go there. There are 3 other people waiting there who are also going in the same direction. The Boring Company A-EV pulls up. All 4 of you get in. It then drives forward 500 meters to another place. Another 3 people get in. It then drives forward another 500 meters. Then another 3 people get in. Let's say 3. They've then got 10 people in the pod. That pod then gets into a tunnel. It goes in the tunnel for about 7 or 8 miles, maybe 10 miles, 20 miles, who knows. You go into the centre of, let's say, Manchester. Then it drops you off in 3 locations. So it drops you off here. 300 metres later, it drops off another 3 people. 300 metres later, it drops off another 4 people. That is how it's going to work. It's not like a train. It's not going to stop 18 times before it gets to its end at destination. That is the key thing. The key thing is the app. The Boring Company apps groups people together. It uses the pods efficiently. And it doesn't necessarily matter if there's only 4 people or 3 people in a pod. You can still make money doing that. A train or a bus cannot make money when only 2 or 3 people are using it. It can't make money. That is the key thing. Look at Transport for London now. Look at BART, Bay Area Rapid Transport. They are absolutely being decimated because the trains only have 10 to 15 people on them. Yeah? You can't make money when you've got, 200, 300 seats and you've only got 15 people, 20 people, 30 people on it. During rush hour, it's crazy. So the Boring Company system is much more efficient at grouping people together, deciding what routes to run, and then, grouping people together when they drop them off. Because people are very consistent. People are incredibly consistent about when they leave and start work. And the Boring Company could encourage people to maybe delay the journey or maybe move the journey forward. And they could do that by incentivizing them with cheaper tickets. So there's plenty of options there. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, I agree. It needs to be 10, 12, 14 people per pod. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean every pod needs to have, 12 people. Some pods could have 6, some pods could have 16, some pods could have 12, some pods could have 10, some pods could have 2 people. It's just about setting it up. The most efficient way is just every vehicle is the same. Every vehicle has 12 people in it. That is the most efficient way of doing it. Over time, you could add a 6-seater, you could have, an 18-seater. It's just about, for now, 12-seater is the best way to do it. Because electricity is super cheap if you buy it at the right time. Therefore, it's not costing you much money to move people around if you're using cheap electricity and no driver. Yes. So I sold all my Tesla at the wrong time, but in the end, I made a lot of money on it. And I have been looking at things to put money into, I must admit. I had I almost considered putting money into a company that I shouldn't have done at one point. And I'm not going to tell you the name, but a lot of Tesla people are giving them a lot of stick at the moment. And at the moment, I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens. But Lilium, I would definitely buy in. If the Boring Company did an IPO, 1,000,000,000%. I would literally... I have a house that I rent out that's down the road from here, yeah? And there's a lovely family that live in there. And it would break my heart, but I would actually sell that house to buy Boring Company stock. This is not financial advice, by the way. I would actually sell that house, yeah, to buy Boring Company stock. That is how serious I am about this company. Or Lilium stock. Maybe not Lilium stock, but yeah, possibly Lilium as well. Yes. These are the kind of out-of-the-box questions that I want to see, people. I want to see something that's a bit out of the box, kind of related to the Boring Company, but it isn't. Question is, would I get married in Las Vegas if Elvis Presley was like the guy conducting the ceremony? Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. I just need to find the perfect woman. I've been looking for a long time. What do you think about hypersonic texting? Kind of, okay. Yeah. We just talked about that actually, Black House Brew. I think Hyperscience is brilliant. I need to contact them. I need to email the Boring Company as well. I've got so many people I need to email. So many people. I need to email so many people and maybe start. I need to take a page from Warren Redlick's book. Warren gets loads of good people on for interviews. I'm not really interviewing people, and that's what I need to do at some point. Because there's a reason why he has 16,000 subscribers and I've only got just under 5,000. But 5,000 is still good though. I'm pretty impressed with that, I must admit. If the business plan has a well thought out proposal for making money, then it should be explored, and that includes Lilium, the Boring Company, maglev trains, everything out. I get a dry throat when I talk too much. Yeah, people don't realise AI's a great area to invest your money, especially over the next sort of 5 years. If you can find companies that are really heavily indebted into AI, and that is their kind of unique selling point, invest in those companies. That is I'm not going to tell you what I'm involved in, but there's companies that are really doing big things, and you should consider investing in them because they will change the world. Yes, possible. I mean, it could be. And I think the London Underground does a good job, but it's almost got to its maximum. I mean, you could spend another 40-50 billion expanding it and adding more stations, but at this stage they're just creating lots of very slow moving trains, and the stations are so close together, and it's just not. If you've read up recently about Crossrail, because Crossrail is kind of the progress from like a kind of a metro system to a full-on intra-rail system in London, that has gone so badly that you just won't believe it. I thought it was going badly, but now I'm so shocked about it. The billions and billions over budget and it's not even finished. It's not moved one passenger. It's incredible. Tesla. What do I think about where Tesla is going in terms of the stock price? I know Warren Redlick did a really good video on this. I keep plugging Warren, but he does so many good videos. He's like a video machine. I think it's quite reasonable to see it going up another $600 to $700 over the next 12 months. I think what will really skyrocket the Tesla price, get it to 4,000, is when Tesla opens factories in Germany, and they open it in Texas, and maybe there's another one on the radar. But once Berlin and once Texas are actually producing vehicles, which will probably just under a year, maybe just over a year, that is when the stock prices are going to go vroom. Big increase. Yeah, and I must admit, I am at that stage in my life now where I'm thinking of. I'm very kind of. My motivation has gone, and I'm just not interested in risks anymore. And it's terrible, because what has got me to this stage in my life now is taking big risks, not huge risks, but big risks. And I need to go back there, but I'm not a young man anymore, Thaddeus, and I'm very much like, there's profit there, good, very, very good profit. I've never made more money on selling shares than I have done in Tesla, but it's on the table. Sometimes you've just got to say, you know what, that's it, I'll put it in the bank, and boom, forget about it. Someone's mentioned it. I am afraid to say it was Nikola, and I thought about it. I thought about it very, very hard. And there's a good friend of mine. He's very, very pro Nikola, and I'm on the fence. I think I don't want to get everyone into a real kind of, fuck Nikola and really go into real negative kind of talk now about Nikola, but let's give them another 12 months. Let's give Nikola another 12 months. Let's focus on Tesla. Let's focus on the Boring Company, Neuralink. Let's focus on all the other electric startups, Lucid, Archimoto. Let's give Nikola time to build a vehicle and actually, get something out on the road that people can see and use. And at that point, then make a judgment. There's too many people at the moment on YouTube just hammering Nikola because it gets loads of views, it gets loads of clicks. Please, don't do that. Let's just leave Nikola alone for 12 months. Let's see what they do. Maybe they go bankrupt. Maybe the stock price goes up to $100. Who knows? But let's just give them 12 months and then make, an educated prognosis of what's going on. Because at the moment, a lot of the things I'm seeing are just really kind of negative input. And I don't like negativity. I don't like people going on a video and just hammering the same, hammering Trevor over and over again. It's not good. It's not good. Just ignore them. The best thing you can do, this is my advice to everyone who's watching today, ignore Nikola, forget about them for 12 months, and then come back. I know it's difficult because Trevor's always sending out 100 million tweets, but ignore them for 12 months, come back, then make an assessment on what they've done. If they've not done very much, criticise away, but it's early days. Hyperscience is kind of like a rail gun underground, so it's like rather than the TBM having a cutter head, it has like these barrels, and the barrels, it's like a rail gun. It shoots out projectiles, so it's a solid piece of metal into the rock, at 3,000 miles per hour. The rock is shattered, and we're talking a big chunk of rock. We're talking about half a ton of rock every time one of those projectiles hits it. So they're shooting out these projectiles like, every 20, 30 seconds. And then they collect the rocks, and then they move forward, install the segments, and it makes sense for very, very hard rock with a low, even fractured rock, it would probably still work. But any kind of like cohesive soils or soft rock or very heavily fractured rock, hyperscience wouldn't be very good. But if you've got some kind of granite or some very kind of very, very hard limestone or something that's super hard like a quartz or something, then it'd be perfect, absolutely perfect. You'd be able to easily do 100 meters a day if you had enough projectiles with that kind of system and the right kind of segment erector. Yeah, I'll talk. I love, and I will tell you this now, I've still got some Archimoto. I sold a little bit of it, but I had a ton of it. I had like hundreds and hundreds of it because it's just dirt cheap, and I just thought to myself, this was well, it wasn't really unfortunate, but Tesla was quite low, and I thought to myself, you know what? I've still got a little bit of profit in here. Why don't I put a bit in Archimoto? And then Archimoto went gangbuster, and I was like, whoa! So I sold a load of it, but I've still got some Archimoto. I think Archimoto is great. I really like the guy running Archimoto. I think he's got a real niche case. I think in countries like Brazil and India and Pakistan and Indonesia and the Philippines and Africa, that kind of system is absolutely perfect, and it can be modified, and it's really good for deliveries. I think for delivering like takeaways and hot meals and things like that, and for delivering like, pharmacies deliver now pretty much everything. That would be the perfect vehicle, and I really hope they do really, really well, because obviously it helps me, but this is not financial advice. Invest in Archimoto. I think they're a great company if you have done your research, please. I'm always worried about getting sued when I give people advice, but I think you've just got, everyone else is doing it, so why the hell not? Why not like a car wash or slow down, move forward, we can go off AI, Okay, so I'm going to speed through these. I'm going to end the live stream. So where are we, man? Let's go back to that. So anything in there you want to talk about, please tell me, because we're going to finish this live stream fairly soon. Tech to create tunnels to feed ocean water into and used tech for hydropower. Yes. So at one point I had a friend of mine, and he was working for a company, and he wanted me to come and work. I'm not going to say the name of the company because they probably won't like it, but he wanted me to come and work for him in Wales because he was working for, and I would have ended up working for a consultancy, which would have been quite embarrassing because of all the criticism I give to consultancies. But for the Swansea Bay Tidal Lagoon. Now, there are lots and lots of opportunities for tidal energy in and around the UK and Ireland and Canada. And one idea is using a tunnel to take water and then really kind of focusing it through a turbine. So I think that would be a really, really good idea. And these, the tidal ranges in some parts of Canada and the UK are extreme, so you can make a lot of energy. So I think there's definitely a use case. But wind and solar are so cheap now to generate electricity from wind and solar. It might end up being that tidal estuary or tidal power might end up becoming obsolete at some point and just get priced out of the market. Do you think you can pick a setting for your boring tunnel ride chill normally? I think that'd be pretty cool if you had the app and you were like, you know what? Everyone has to vote on what they want. It's like ludicrous mode. It's like boom, and everyone's like straight down there. You're like going crazy. I think that's a good question. That is the greatest question of today. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop a bomb for Black House here now. Great question. I've got a soundboard and I've not even used it. And you know what? Tidal power is a moon. Yeah, I've heard that. I used to have a friend. Oh god, this is terrible. It's complete rubbish. But he used to tell me that if we built too many wind turbines, it would stop the jet stream. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. And he used to tell everyone the same story. And it was so painful to hear him say that. But it's kind of like a similar thing for tidal power in a way. But it's so incremental, so slow. I don't think it would really affect my life or my children's lives. Do you think the boy will have Jill design enough to send one to Mars during the next? I don't think so. No, I'm afraid not, Andy. I think we're going to be a good 12 to 15 years away from sending a TBM to Mars. The obvious solution is to use the lava. They have these lava tubes on Mars. Some are very, very long, over a mile long. If we could find one, we could create a settlement in these kind of lava tubes. Some are really, really big, 40, 50, 60 foot in diameter. Huge things. If you could find one and utilize that to begin with, that'd be great. But I think actually getting a TBM going on Mars would be incredibly difficult. Really difficult. You'd have to put a lot of thought into that. How would you'd have to have it all in components and you'd have to assemble them on the surface maybe, I don't know, unless you could drop it underground and then seal it off. There's a lot of questions in terms of how you would do that from a process standpoint, and I'm thinking maybe 12 to 15 years on that one, hopefully. Yeah, that's crazy that, isn't it? I think we should be careful what we say sometimes. Maybe it is. I don't know. I have a very convincing friend, and he is of the opinion. But let's focus on positive things. Let's focus on buying other stocks. Hopefully, Lucid and Fisker do their SPACs and they get listed on, IPOs, as it were. I don't know if it's still called an IPO. It's called SPAC, I suppose. And then, invest your money in companies that you believe in and just forget all the other companies that you think, are not going to do well. That's my personal opinion. Always be positive about what you say and, promote progress and economic growth. Nicola, yes. Yeah. Someone was saying that Trevor's not going to be on the quarterly, which that would be a really big red flag for me personally. That would scare me if he isn't on the call. Hey, it's in the Hyperloop. How are you doing, bro? I've not seen you on a live stream for a long, long time. I hope you're doing well, Blake. Hope you're staying safe. Looking to put together a team for a boring competition. I love it. That's going to be brilliant. 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 I think that's great. We want more young people involved in that competition getting inspired about boring tunnels. Tunnels are so useful. Imagine if you could build, you know, a 14-foot tunnel for less than $5 million. You could do so much with that if it was that cheap. So many opportunities. There'll be businesses built on the back of the Boring Company if they can do that for, you know, 5 million. And I think they can. If you've watched my previous video, I think it's very, very viable. Maybe even 4.7 million per mile. Did they? So Cormac spoke to Elon Musk and asked them about hyperscience, and I can't remember what they said. If they said they weren't interested in working with them, but maybe that was a bit of trickery to get people off the idea. But I really hope Hyperscience is another company that if they were to do like a SPAC and do an IPO, I would definitely consider investing. Definitely consider investing. It's just so great. I just want more companies to IPO, more great companies, and then we can all invest, you know, together. We don't need to invest tons of money. We can invest little bits in various companies. That's a great way to spread, to play it safe, is to spread it between, you know, 5 or 6 companies, but make sure you put at least 50% into Tesla. That's the key. At least 50% into Tesla, and then put the other 50% into 6 other companies. Oh, what's this? What's this? I see something interesting. I'll have a read of that once this is finished. I'm going to blaze through these now. Oh, we're nearly at the end. Thank you. Really? Oh, man. Right on the live stream, breaking news. Is that true? Oh, I'm going to have to... People best not be winding me up. I won't be happy, Johnny. Johnny, you best be honest with me, bro. You've been here since the start. Johnny, like, ever present since about 300 subscribers on YouTube. #1 supporter. He's been here since the beginning. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree. They've not really built something that's useful. They've just, you know, done the patents and done the designs and come up with a concept. That's all the easy bit. 20% of the work is doing the concepts, is doing the design work, is deciding how you're going to build it. The other 80% is actually building it and overcoming those problems that have come along the way. So for that, I agree. But like I say, give Nikola 12 months, come back, decide if they are legitimate or if they are, you know, trying to take people's money. Yeah, well, this is it. Mars is a unique one, really unique, because it makes more sense to have a bigger diameter TBM, because that spoil that is removed, not only might it contain water and iron and other metals and tin and you know, I don't know what. There's bound to be things in the geology that are going to be useful, but even if it's absolute crap rock, that rock will be bone dry and you can compress it into bricks, and then you can use those bricks on the surface. You could create really big bricks, because remember, gravity is very low on Mars. I think it's, was it 80%? No, is it 70% less than Earth? I'm thinking. So you can make really big bricks that'd be easy to pick up with a forklift or something, and you could stack them and you could make you know, homes, as it were. And because the bricks are really thick, that would protect you from the radiation or give you some kind of protection. It'd be better building something like a pyramid on Mars, but you know, you want it to look like a pyramid but be hollow inside, not like the actual pyramids, which are mostly rock. You know, 92% rock, and then there's voids in there. You want it to be, like a pyramid, with your bricks, and then you cover it up with more earth or rock, loose rock, and then you've got people living inside there, and it protects you from the radiation. That's a good idea. So you want the TBM on Mars to be a really big diameter. You want it to be about 24 foot, maybe 28 foot. So for my European friends, that's, what is that, like 7 meters, 7.5, 8 meters. So you want it to be, big TBM. All that rock you pull out, you want to process it. You want to extract all the things that are useful. Anything that's not useful, convert it into bricks, and then you build structures on the surface. So it's, it's a bonus to get all that material because it's really useful to you. So you want a big TBM. Yes. Question of the day. There is a company called, oh man, this has turned into like an investment talk, called High View Power in the UK. And they have one of these cryo batteries, which is literally 15 miles in that direction, in a town called Bury, England, or Bury, if you're from Bury. It's called Bury, England, is a cryo battery. I think that might work in a tunnel as well. Basically what you do is you take air, you cool it down to cryo temperatures until it forms a liquid, and then you store it in a tank. And then what you do when you want to release the power, you heat it up and then you run it through a turbine. So you can create this cryo air when electricity is really cheap, and then when electricity is peak time, you can heat it up and then send it through at very high rates there, because it expands. This cryo expands very, very exponentially when you get it above. Well, it sounds like crazy, but once you get it above like minus 80 degrees Celsius, it goes through here like a rocket, and you can generate large amounts of electricity. And it's a really good way, cryo battery, of storing like huge megawatts of electricity. It's not as efficient as a battery, but you could store 400, 500, 600 megawatts of electricity easily, maybe even 800 megawatts in these big tanks, and then use it whenever you want, which is really, really useful. High View Power is well worth following on Twitter. Yeah, I think that's a quite a good balanced opinion, which I like. Thank you so much. Well, on Mars, if you're building a city and you haven't made a dome yet, you'll want a nice way to get each building without an airlock. Yeah, so you probably have some kind of tunnel going under and up for each. But yeah, I don't know if it'd be just easier building most of the things on the surface, using those kind of blow up habitats, and then covering them over with the strata that you find. Possibly. I only found out recently that there's quite a lot of lithium stored in rocks. My opinion of lithium was it was always stored in these salts, in these like liquid salts underground, and you had to pump it up. But apparently it's in rocks as well, in low quantities. So if you could find an area with a very high density of lithium, you could use a TBM to go round in a various, maybe even like a circle, or you could just work your way inwards, and then you could extract the rock, crush it, and then extract the lithium. So it's possible. I think there's other better ways of doing it though, by using the brine pools, as it were. Yeah, it could do. I mean, that's not, again, great idea. If you're in quite a mountainous area and you can build tunnels very quickly, that's going to be great for getting access and removing materials from that area and getting access to that area. Yeah. If I had the opportunity to invest in High View Power again, I would definitely do it. Definitely consider them. Definitely consider diversifying your portfolio. It's all well and good. At one point, when was this? Like early this year or late last year? Something like over 85% of my portfolio was in Tesla, and it's just I mean, it's just worrying. It's just too much, way too much, and that's one of the reasons why I had to sell, because I was just getting worried that there was going to be another crash. Because in the past, if you've followed Tesla, religiously like I have done it's been like this. It's been like a rocket, then it's dropped like a stone, and then it's been flat for months and months, and then it's been up, and it's just like, while the going's if there's one thing I should tell you today, and that is useful to you, and you should think about, is this phrase: when others are greedy, you should be fearful. When others are fearful, you should be greedy. And that works in stocks, it works in cryptocurrency, and it works especially well in recessions, when people are buying and selling things and businesses are going under. Be aggressive when others are fearful, and that will stand you well. But also know when a bubble is there. If there's a bubble, be aware of it. When things start to get out of control, like with Bitcoin, get the hell out of there. I was very fortunate because I had some Bitcoin, and I panicked, and I sold most of it, and then 2.5 months later there was a huge crash, and it was just like the best decision I've ever made, other than selling. Well, yeah, so probably the best decision I've ever made, that. Right, we're coming to the end now. Yeah, so on Mars, there are rumoured to be lots and lots of deposits of various useful things. Carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide and oxygen and various things, and ice, water and things like that. So there's definitely opportunity for mining, although I don't know how deep that'll be. I mean, no one really knows until you start doing a survey of the surface of Mars, and you're actually there, and you're underneath, and you're looking at things. Yeah, you can't go wrong. I mean, Tesla is, the golden goose. You're never going to get better gains than with Tesla, unless you're investing in a company that's literally just starting up, or has just done an IPO, like a Lucid. If Lucid did an IPO, wow, there's some, very well run company, legitimate CEO, good finances. Lucid, this is not financial advice, by the way, could easily 10x, 20x. Yeah, the best way to save money is that, and I can tell you exactly, that is 100% true. Okay, guys, I have come to the end of my... wow, we've been going for over an hour. I can't believe it. We've going for over an hour. This is insane. Before I go, let's just have a play around. I've got this soundboard. Let's just see what we can do. So what's this one? Bomb. Air horn. Oh, I can't believe I've not used this one today.
Wow.
Okay, guys, that's going to be it for today. Thank you, everyone who joined us, and thank you for all the great questions. It was absolute pleasure talking to you all today. We talked about a lot of things, not just the Boring Company, and that's really interesting for me. So that's great, guys. Hopefully we can do this in another 2 weeks or so. And I've got a video coming out tomorrow that's going to be really, really interesting. So, stay tuned for that. And go and watch Warren Redlick's interview with David Wilshaw. That is really good. I'll put that in the links below. Okay, guys, thank you and good night. Remember, don't be boring. Hopefully see you soon. And take care. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Wear a mask if you're mandated to do so. Thank you. Goodbye.